Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. We are live, and we're going to be talking professional wrestling. And as always, our panel, Jack Lord and Rodney West, and my name is Brent West. And a lot of things have happened in the last week in wrestling. One of the things that happened, Jack and Rodney, is Sting showed up on All Elite Wrestling. Jack, what did you think about the Sting showing up on All Elite Wrestling?
I was a little shocked at first, and I thought they did it very, very well. I thought it came out, what he did in the ring told a lot of stories. Now, my understanding is he's not actually going to be wrestling. He's going to be like heading up a stable type thing. But he sure made an impression.
Rodney, did you see it or did you hear about it?
Sting's on what show? What show is that? What night is that on?
I believe that's a Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. What network? What network is that on?
I don't know. It's on opposite.
Okay.
NXT.
It's on, yeah.
I'll be honest with you. This is. I thought it was very well. I thought at first, Glacier was coming out. I'm not for sure. Because he came out with for some reason it was snowing when he came out. I didn't get the reference of the snow. So I thought, hey, Glacier's fixing to come out, and it ended up being Sting. Here's the thing, though. He signs a multi-year contract with AEW. Is Sting going to make a difference, Jack, in the ratings of AEW?
I think initially he will, and I think if they take care of him long term, I believe that this could be a game changer for them.
I don't know. I have mixed emotions about it because I'm thinking, he's getting a lot of money. Let's just he's getting a ton of money for him to do what he's going to do. I do know that they said in 24 hours that more T-shirts were sold of Sting in that 24 hours that's been sold of all time. So hopefully it does well. Rodney, what do you think? Multi-year contract, that unknown wrestling company that you don't even know what day it is.
It's Sting. It's Sting. All the matches we've ever talked about on here, the best matches we've ever seen, has never involved the name Sting. And you get a multi-year contract for someone that really can't produce.
Here's something else that was done on the last AEW show. I have to ask this question, but they're evidently going to work with Impact Wrestling. They're going to have a relationship. They did something on the show where some guy that works on part of this is going to be a part of this show, and they're going to do on Tuesday. They was going to do, something on Impact.
Yes.
But let me ask y'all this: does that help Tony Khan and AEW at all? Does it only help Impact?
From a fan standpoint, I think it makes a huge impression that, for the first time, you've really got two companies, willing to work together. And it's not just them. Tony Khan has also reached out and is working with NWA. And I think they're trying to work out something with New Japan also. So, he's doing something that fans have asked for, for years and years and years. Now, hopefully, it's not going to turn into, the debacle that, what was it, Pro Wrestling USA, that turned out to be. But, initially, I think it's going to help Impact more because it's going to get more eyes to their product. The only problem is that Impact and their station, what was that, Access TV, they don't reach as many homes. So, I don't know if that's really going to make a big difference in the ratings. Maybe it will for the homes that they reach, but we'll see.
Well, the last ratings that they had, which was really not ratings, but it was 166,000 people watched Impact Wrestling, which is better than I thought that would be watching it.
Yeah.
But I thought there would be less than that. But Rodney, what do you think? Two wrestling organizations working together.
It's always good to work with other organizations. It's always good. It's a good idea. And let's go back to history. As long as promoters were working with each other back in the NWA days, everybody was successful. The moment that the ranks broke and they started running against each other, stealing each other's talent, and that's when it all goes downhill. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what kind of, if it lasts, if the egos don't get in the way, they may have a success here.
Let's hope they do. I did also find out this week that Daniel Bryan is part of the writing team on SmackDown. I did not know this until I started looking on that. A couple other things that I want to say, and then we're going to talk about Pat Patterson. He passed away this week, but the Undertaker, I understand, has a contract that leads into 2034.
Wow.
Yeah, they're locking him down long term. Which, before we get completely off Sting, that was one of the reasons why Sting did not renew with WWE, because he had pitched several times to Vince to do a cinematic match with the Undertaker, and Vince just flat said, "I don't think there's an audience for that." Would there have been a huge audience? I don't know. It's one of those things fans talk about, but I don't, who knows?
Well, also Booker T, he has a contract to 2029.
Yeah.
And I find it weird that Booker T has a podcast where he talks about AEW on it, but he's signed with Vince McMahon. I just find that weird. I don't know why I find it weird, but I find that very weird that they would allow that to happen. I guess weirder things have happened in 2020. Let's talk a little bit about Pat Patterson. He passed away. Pat Patterson, I don't think maybe a lot of people don't realize, but Pat Patterson was a great professional wrestler, and him and Ray Stevens. And when we're talking about great tag teams, if anybody ever watched these two men, they were. We talk about great tag teams, Ole and Gene Anderson. We talk about the Midnight Express, Rock Express. But watch these two guys.
Yeah,
these guys were tremendous in the ring. Am I telling the truth, Rodney?
Yeah, they were awesome. Absolutely awesome. Knew exactly what they were doing when they got in the ring. It's just, when you see a seasoned wrestler, you see greatness. We've seen that with other teams too, with Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel as well. But yeah, Patterson was absolutely great in the ring. Then later on becoming the Intercontinental Champion for the WWF, and then part of the brain, really the brains behind a lot of the stuff we saw, especially with WrestleMania 3. Just tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
Jack, someone said about Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens, they said they were actually one person. They were so good as a team that they didn't wrestle as two separate people, which happens today in wrestling, but they were just one solid performer, basically. Did you ever see any of their matches, especially on videotape and stuff? Stevens.
Oh yeah. I've gone back and watched a lot of their stuff. They were primarily, California and AWA, but man, their stuff was just great. I mean, they gelled so well together. They had similar builds. Their styles were a lot alike. And, and they were of a mindset of making the match work. It wasn't about either one of them individually getting over, which is a big issue with tag teams. This was about getting the tag team over, making the tag match mean something, and storytelling.
There was a story that circulated about Roy Shire. Patterson and Stevens were in a tag team match, and they went out there, and he said the people were going nuts. They were standing up. They were just having the match was spectacular. And they got back to the dressing room, and Roy Shire kind of sat there and said, "What in the world was y'all doing?" And he said, "Well, we were having a good match." He said, "Well, we had a great match, didn't we?" And I think Pat Patterson he wouldn't put the S on stuff. He said, "Then people were going banana." And, and he said, yeah, that's right. Y'all had a great match. It was a great match. It was a spectacular match. He said, but I'm going to be running here for the next 10 years. And how is anyone going to follow that match? So he did not like them to do all that stuff. Very important back then. Don't do everything you can do in one night. I think that was what he was trying to tell Patterson and Stevens. They did all they could do in one night, and they needed to hold off on a little bit of that stuff. But, Pat Patterson, I think the success of WWF, I believe Vince's success had a lot to do with Pat Patterson.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, he took right on. I mean, he was there right up to where Steve Austin and Vince McMahon. I mean, he was really one of the creators of a lot of what we saw.
Well, the Royal Rumble was his brainchild. He came up with it. I was watching a video, and it said a shoot interview, and it said that he came up with the Royal Rumble, and he pitched it to Vince McMahon, and Vince said, "Oh, that's stupid. What do you mean? That don't make any sense." And Dick Ebersol was there, and Pat Patterson pitched it to him, and he understood it, while Vince didn't understand the whole concept of the Royal Rumble. And let's be honest, it's become one of their most favorite matches that people love to see, pay-per-views, people like to see. Yeah. Awesome concept. Everybody stole it. We had what was
Cyclone
Rumble.
Cyclone Rumble is what we had.
Yeah, I think maybe called it something else in our time as well. But Pat Patterson will certainly be missed, and we'll do another episode just on Pat Patterson in 2021, because he was a character, and also he was probably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. There's no doubt. Let's go see what the insiders have got to say. What's going on in their world? Kevin Barkwell. Good evening, guys.
Hey, Mr. Kevin.
Billy. I don't even know what that means.
Bis back at you, buddy.
Billy Heim, I believe.
Billy, Glenn Allen Shelton, good evening. Michael Barr is with us. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Mr. Barr.
Leonard Gross is with us. Also, Chaplain Freddie Rooster or Roper. Well, that's a.
I love that. I love his picture. I love that picture.
Jamie Combs is on here with us. Hello, guys. Hello to you. Well, I went a little too far on here. I went all the way to the bottom. Billy said, "Rest in peace, Pat Patterson." Lance Gardner is with us. What's up, guys? Well, a lot of things. In just a moment, we're going to be talking USA Championship Wrestling, and then we'll review Mid-South Wrestling. And I think we're going to stick with us, because I think we're going to have a little bit of, we might not all agree on this particular show. So stick with us. They might be some yelling or something in this show. We don't know. We will find out. So stick with us here. Billy said Sting. James Casey. Howdy, folks. Hello to you. Kevin said, I was watching old Florida shows. Was Joe Blanchard a face or heel in his day? I believe he was a baby face, wasn't he?
I believe he was. I think that's where I saw him. He was. There's some stuff from Chicago that I believe he's on, and I believe he was.
I don't know. I don't know that I've ever seen Joe Blanchard ever wrestle. So Billy, let's talk about the NWO Wolfpack. I guess that was Sting in that? Or no, I don't think he was ever in any kind of the NWO.
Well, he was. Did he change his?
Yeah, he was in
white, wasn't it?
One of those splinter groups.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Kevin Finley said, "Pro Wrestling USA."
That's what I'm getting to, Brent. Sting is so memorable. I
just didn't watch a lot of that.
I'm with you. Right about that, I started tuning out too. So yeah.
Pro Wrestling Jack Reynolds. Who can not forget Jack Reynolds? He didn't know a hold for nothing. He didn't. I mean, he had a great voice, but man, he didn't know anything about wrestling. You think he'd watched some television program occasionally, so he knew what he was talking about. Mickey said, my understanding Sting can't wrestle because of a neck injury, but we have seen Arn take a few bumps in AEW, and he can't wrestle now either because of similar injuries. I wish them the best and hope no one gets hurt. Also, rest in peace, Pat Patterson. That's the only thing that you're going to see about spending a lot of time with somebody in wrestling. If there's nothing that you can do with them in the end, if no matter what you do with them, if you can't do some blow off, it doesn't do you too much good to have them part of your show. Kevin Barkwell, every time I see Sting, I can't help but laugh and think about Dick Slater beating the heck out of him and putting his head in the toilet. I bet you Sting, no matter where he goes, somebody talks about that at some point. There's Rick G. Brooks from Foulmouth, Kentucky. We'll be talking a little bit about the USA Championship Wrestling, Rick, that came to a couple of those towns. I don't know if they went to Foulmouth. What side is Foulmouth on?
I don't have any idea. Well, shall I look it up? I can look it up.
Rick, where's Foulmouth close to him? We may have asked him that question before, but we're getting old, and the first thing that goes is your mind, and we can't remember the rest. So, Victor Nash said, "Hello, guys. Anne Marie is signed to a WWE internal roster." Anna Marie, who's Anna Marie? I'm sorry, I don't know. Is this somebody we're supposed to know?
It's not ringing a bell with me either.
All right, so we'll have to look that name up and see who that is. Mickey Mayfield said, "Did someone say Tessa Blanchard was going to AEW?" Jack?
Well, there's a lot of speculation. There's been two different stories coming out of that they were not interested in her, then that they were. But basically, WWE is supposedly interested in her too, but the thing is right now is Tessa is married to a Mexican national. They're living in, I believe, Mexico City, and they're not coming back stateside until all this COVID stuff is over with. So it's going to be April, May, probably before she comes back over, before we hear whether one of those companies are going to hire. Now, I don't know what her situation is. I've heard she's difficult to deal with, but you hear all kinds of things. Bottom line to me is she is awesome in that ring. And if somebody doesn't sign her, even if you've got to keep her in line, you're missing out because she is great.
Well, now Rodney was always difficult to deal with too, but people still used him. So
not very often.
Victor Nash said, "Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat. First ever IC champion in the WWF." Kevin Finley, you think Pat Stevens were better than Bockwinkel and Stevens? There's a close. There's a closeness.
Yeah.
You think there is a closeness because Bockwinkel Stevens was very good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin said Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens were awesome tag team in the 70s. I thought both of these guys were the best as tag team wrestlers. And Mickey Mayfield said, "Whatever happened to Pat Tanaka?" I don't know. Jack, do you know?
He's still around. He's still doing good, I think.
Let's see. Goddard and Gordman was a good team as well. I don't know if I've ever saw them.
Goliath and Goldman, yeah, they were mostly out of California. They did some Texas stuff too, though. They were impressive.
Richard Hood is late. We'll write you down there, Richard. Mike Schaefer watching in Bama. Been a while. Great to see you all. How you doing, Mike? Glad to see you back with us. Dr. Philbo Grice. Good evening, gentlemen. Marty Wycliffe. Hello, guys. Glad to see you all doing well. Rita Cantrell.
Hey, Rita.
Rita, good.
Hey, Rita.
Shannon and Kathleen Moore. Good evening, gentlemen. I hope everyone is doing well. Getting ready for the Christmas season. Michael Barr, Rodney, are you having a senior moment there?
That must be because I don't know what he's talking about.
Richard Hood, Rodney's thing was in the Wolf Pack. Okay, so that's good. And I guess Victor Nash says congrats to Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins on their new born. Did they have a boy or a girl? Do you know?
Little girl. All
right, guys. I think now it's time to look at USA Championship Wrestling. I was looking through this, and we were a part of USA Championship Wrestling, maybe just a small, minute part when you really look at the things that happened there. But it only lasted, and I always thought that it lasted longer than this because it seemed like we were there for a year, and maybe we just was having so much fun that it seemed like a year. But it only lasted from April to August of 1988.
Oh,
and for those people who don't know what USA Championship Wrestling, it became a part at the time. Ron Fuller owned Continental Championship Wrestling with several other people, and he wanted to get out, but he was going to keep the Knoxville in. And they were going, him and Bob Polk was going to run wrestling in Knoxville, Hazard, Kentucky, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I can't think one more market. I can't remember what the other market is. But Johnson
City, Hazard, Kentucky.
And it started out pretty good. One of the reasons is Mellow Yellow gave Bob Polk, Ron Fuller, $100,000. For advertising on the television show and everything that it took to run a pro wrestling show. And it was very good because when they would run these spot shows, Mellow Yellow would even give them drinks and stuff in some of these places and give them a bunch of stuff.
Good sponsor.
It was a great sponsor. And we'll have to tell a story about that same sponsor was going to be a sponsor of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. That's a different story for a different time, but and we'll get into why that didn't happen on another episode. But the show was really good. It was done at the television show was done at the Ballroom in Knoxville, Tennessee. You had to go upstairs to get to this place. Great I mean, it had a great atmosphere. Did Jackie ever watch any of the shows from?
I did see some of the shows. Yeah.
Very good shows. Gordon Soley did the commentary in the show. Everything was great until one morning, Gordon fell down the escalators and messed himself up. Bro, you remember that, Rodney?
Yeah, that wasn't good. It wasn't good. Yeah, he looked beat up pretty bad.
Yeah, Bob Armstrong had to go pick him up at the airport, and poor old Gordon fell. Well, he actually was up to the top of that, and he said, Bob said, when I got up to the top of that thing, he said, I could tell that Gordon had been drinking already a little bit. And he said, so I told him to stay up there, just stay up there. I'll come back and I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. But let me just bring the car around. That way it's down there and I'm going to come and get you. He said he went and got the car, came back, was pulled up in the front of that place. And he said when he came through, he saw a bunch of people just all the way around there, and when he said, I got over there, here's old Gordon all messed up, his face bleeding, all just the whole thing.
They look bad.
And they had, I think Laura put the makeup on him that day, so he didn't look so bad. But poor old Gordon fell down the escalator steps there and messed himself up. Phil Rainey did the ring announcing on the TV show. Here was some of the guys. Dad was there as the road agent, and after a while, he just put out posters. I never understood why they had him there just putting out posters, but that's what he did for a while. And it's not that Dad didn't care; he was still being paid. But he was thinking, I think I could give a whole lot more than putting out posters for USA Championship Wrestling. I think they thought that was what sold the tickets. Don't you think so, Rod? Them posters being put out sold the tickets.
Great posters, yeah. We've had that. I had that same conversation, it seems like, with the circus.
Yes. Like I said, it was only there April into August. I really believe that seemed like it was longer than that. I'm going to have to go back and look at that, but that just seems like we were there in February, and it went through till August of that year. It just because I know this much. When we first went there, this is who was wrestling at the company at the time. Buddy Landell was there. Hector Guerrero had come in. Bill Dundee, Moondog Spot, Mongolian Stomper, Ron Wright, which was tremendous in this thing. I mean, he was, I didn't even know who Ron Wright was until 1987. I'll be honest with you, I never even knew who he was. But once I seen him in action, I thought there was no better person.
Yeah, Ron Wright was awesome.
He was
the best part of the show.
He was the best part of the show. But here was the downfall of Ron Wright.
We didn't get the other side. We got some of them. We didn't talk about Bob. The Bullet was there.
Yeah, the Bullet was there.
Scott Armstrong, right? Johnny and Davey Rich. His first time. David Haskins coming in his first time as Davey Rich. Todd Morton was there, right?
Yes.
At the beginning. And am I missing somebody?
Let's see. Doug Furnace.
Okay.
Austin Idol was Austin Idol would come in and out occasionally. At the end, Ron Fuller came out of his retirement to get in the room. Oh, we had the Stormtrooper, which was Tim Fry, Terry Gordy. Terry Gordy was wrestled there as well. The Rock and Roll RPMs, Mike Davis and Tommy Lane. Nelson Royal would come in, which was very good.
Oh yeah, Nelson is great.
But I guess Mongolian Stomper and Bob was the main two people on the card. It didn't last as long as that was a very small territory, and you had to move people in and out of there really quick. And I think after 3 months, because when we first got there, business was good. But I remember one time in Morristown, Tennessee, and Rodney, you remember this. They did the same exact finishes 2 times in a row.
Yeah, that was very embarrassing, by the way.
Yeah, somebody came up to me and said, "I know what's going to happen in this next match because it's the same match as we saw last time that we were here." Very bad.
Michael and David was telling us also Wendall Cooley was there later on. He's right.
Yeah, Wendall Cooley was there. I remember Wendall Cooley got his hair cut by Buddy Landell. And we were making trips with Wendell. And Wendell went right after he got his hair cut, and he went to get a haircut. And we told him, driving down the road, says, "This ain't going to work." You just went and got your hair cut. So what did it do to you? You need to go click that thing where it's more, some of it's not here, and some of it, I said, you got to go. What did it matter if you got your hair cut if you're just going to go get a haircut? Made no sense to us whatsoever. But they had some good stuff, but they did things that just the territory was too small to be able to. You needed to move talent so fast. I mean, where were they going to go? When you got rid of them, where were they going to go? So it wasn't a situation. We'll get back to Ron Fuller's USA Championship Wrestling. We'll go into more of a detailed look at matches.
Well, the one thing that I want to just interrupt you for just a second. Let's just be very frank. Ron and Robert were not getting along together. Robert was running the southern end, the Alabama, still down there. They refused to exchange talent. They refused to even talk to each other at the time. And it was detrimental, not just to that, but to both at the same time. So there we go with what I was talking about earlier with AEW. The ability to work with other people. How long will it last? As long as it lasts, should be great for everybody. But just as soon as those egos start to come into play, down the tubes, everybody will go.
Well, we all understand, and Jack, you know this more than that. It never lasts. No working relationship ever lasts. What's going to happen is going to come down to who's going to win, who's going to lose. Well, I can't have my guy lose. He's my champion. Well, I can't have my guy lose. And before you know it, is this going to be over? And it's not going to work. By the way, Jamie Dundee, also very young Jamie Dundee.
Jamie Dundee was there.
Was also a part of this show. I think he was called Gumby by the wrestling fans. But we'll get more into detail and tell you step by step exactly what happened. But we're going to have a little bit of time on that because a lot of things people talk about. Well, what made a wrestling company go under? There's a lot of things that made this particular company not survive for a very long period of time. And it did happen that, I mean, sometimes there would be 5 shows running around Knoxville, Tennessee, just too close to Knoxville, Tennessee, that didn't help it as well. Let's now go and see where was I at here? All right, I will find it here somewhere. USA, David Lawson talking about USA Wrestling. Hey, David, we will get into a little bit more details on that show as time goes by. On Jack versus Terry Gordy match, was the War Machine a humongous 2?
Yes, he did do humongous. That was Bull Buchanan.
Right. And that humongous was actually humongous, but we always felt humongous should never have been allowed to wrestle with all of that gear on, not with the hockey mask and all the other stuff. We always felt like he should always have been able to take it off because it was bringing an illegal object into the ring, even though it was part of his outfit. But we always thought that he should have taken it off. In fact, I think that was our big push in that particular match when he had to take the mask off or he wouldn't be able to wrestle.
Yeah, and then came back later with face paint, which worked very well.
Yeah, that was Love USA, David Lawson. Leonard said, it is not so much that I can still take a bump, it is will not take a bump. I know what my surgeon told me, and Vince could not pay me enough. The doctor said one wrong bump and I could be paralyzed. I'm gathering that's what Sting said about, it's what Sting said, I'm gathering.
Yeah, Sting has spinal stenosis. I have that too, so I understand.
So we know he's not going to take a bump. We know that much. So then you got to ask yourself, well, what are they going to do with him in the multi-year? What can you do with somebody? Because if he's going to manage, there's got so many of them. You got Arn, you got Tully, you got Jake, you got Sting. How many of the older wrestlers are you going to bring in as managers? And when do you start? When does that start meaning nothing when you've got so much of that?
And you mentioned earlier that there always needs to be a payoff with a manager. That's why I've had several offers to be a heel manager, but that's what I've said no to it, because to me, at some point you have to pay back the babyface, and that means I would need to take bump, and I can't take a bump. So if I can't do my job, I'm not going to do that at all.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens. We don't know. We don't know what they have in plan. They may have some of the greatest storyline in plan. Now he may even do a musical number with Chris Jericho and MJF. So hey, there you go. You never know. You break into song.
We've always known that really Sting's
MJF got some kind of musician or dance of the year award or something from some outside source for that.
Well, we all know that Sting's real true calling was acting. I don't know why he didn't get in the movies.
Hello, Ric Flair. What
have you seen these movies?
I don't know. Let's hope. We respect Sting. We hope that he's do something well with him. I hope it just doesn't hurt his career of what he did build. I'm just hoping they don't do something that Chris Jericho is doing to his career. Let's now look at. Well, let me write that down. Apologize to Chris Jericho. Richard Hood said, I met Pat Tanaka at Abdullah's restaurant in Atlanta. Does Abdullah still have his restaurant in Atlanta? I'm not for sure he does.
It's not in business anymore. He shut it down, retired a few years ago.
Okay. Michael Holt said, did you guys see Jamie Dundee and Tracy Smothers in the Robert Redford movie, The Last Castle? No, I've not seen it.
No, I'm going to have to write that down. I have to check that out. The Last Castle.
No, I did not know they were in this. Richard Hood said, Ron Wright was part of Plan B. Yes, I think all of them people thought they were going to hurt Ron Fuller. They didn't know that at some point they just hurt themselves. I mean, what I mean, how does that help anybody? But yeah, that was a crazy time, just crazy. Which that thing never got out until now, so nobody even knew about it until the last year or two that it came out. Michael Holt said Wendall Cooley. David Lawson said Cooley was part of USA Championship Wrestling. Doug Furness was a beast to University of Tennessee football. At the time, though, poor old Doug wasn't that good. He was
University of Tennessee was great.
Yeah, the University of Tennessee was good, but Doug Furness wasn't really good at the time. He thought he was good. Doug thought he was good, but he did become a whole lot better.
Yeah, we almost got in a fight in Montgomery one night.
Oh, did you and Doug?
Yeah. You know how he was stiff on those drop kicks, and he caught me the first time, and I wasn't going to let him catch me again. So as soon as I would start to feel the contact, I'd take the bump. And he got mad. I mean, he wanted to fight in the dressing room. And Davey Rich got in between us and separated. And I told Doug, I said, look, man, I know you can beat me up, but you're going to have to beat me up because I ain't just going to stand. Came back and apologized for that. But
we're having a little technical difficulties with Jack. He was a great story, and we were losing half of it there. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm at.
Leonard said Ron played the Mummy in Memphis before Eddie Marlin. Let's see. Doug Furness was one huge wrestler and powerful as well. Cornell Bryant said, my mother and father wrestled in Alabama and the surrounding area. Yes, by the way, I found a photograph of your father. We're going to post that in the next few weeks. Great wrestler. We talk about him a lot when in Texas, and Wally McDaniel was there, Terry Funk, Dory Funk. He's a part of a lot of those matches. Michael Barr asked, was Bill Ash there at the time? We're talking about USA Championship Wrestling. No, he never wrestled for them. But Bill Ash, tremendous wrestler.
Yeah.
One of the greats. Cornell said Ken Lucas was my favorite.
Yeah, he's an awesome one. I love Ken Lucas.
Michael Barr.
Fire. Boom, boom, boom.
Now you're having a senior moment. I have a lot of those. I'm going to be doing these. We're going to be doing these shows for the next few years, but within 8, I might even forget my name. So we're hoping to get a lot of stuff told before that time. Daniel Lang says the video of Leduc and Mongolian Stomper getting cement blocks broken on their heads with slam barriers looks devastating. Yes, they did that in 2 territories. They did that in the Tennessee end, and they also did that in the South end and the Dothan, Alabama end. It was good. Who wrestled as the Flame and the Assassin? That would be Jody Hamilton. He wrestled as both. Glenn Allen Shelton, Bulldog Rain still around? Jack? If we haven't lost Jack. I think we've lost.
He's froze up there.
He's froze up. Bulldog Rings is still around, but if we can get Jack's has
to him just the other day.
There you go.
Am I?
Well, we were waiting.
I think I'm gonna have to go out and come back.
All right, go out, come back in. We'll be here waiting for you to come back in, and then right. Glenn will let Jack talk about Bulldog Rings. David Lawson said, "I have spinal whatever that hurts bad. That's bad." Great show, Brett Jack. Thank you so much, Michael Barr. Kevin Penley says MJF gets it, and they're wasting his talent. Glenn Allen Shelton, yes, told my next steps be still raw. Ooh.
Oh, no.
Abdullah's barbecue and Chinese food. I always thought that was a crazy put together.
Good combo, huh?
Crazy combo, really. David Bias, great show, guys. Thank you so much. Richard Hood said, Road Dogg made his debut on USA Wrestling with his military uniform on. We could tell a story about that whole.
We sure could.
We could tell a story about that, but we'll leave that story. Soon we will be having, because if you go on Facebook now, we have a support where people, if you want to support our channel, you can, and we'll leave that story for the people who support our channel later on. We don't want to tell that story right here. All right, let's see if Jack is back with us. And
hey, there he is.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. If you let us know about Bulldog rings.
Okay, I talked to him just maybe a week ago. He and I go back a long way. We were tag partners for almost 7 years. So, we've had a real good friendship all those years, but he's doing really good. He's in tremendous shape. For all intent and purposes, he could come back tomorrow and still be at the top of his game. He just has no desire to be in the business anymore.
Rick C. Brooks said, I've never been a fan of Sting. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I had no problem with Sting as far as a wrestler. But he wasn't a good person. He wasn't a nice person whatsoever. Now, he might be now, but he wasn't in 1990. Yeah. And that's just all there is to it. If you wasn't somebody that do something for him, he had no use for you. And that's just the way it was. I hate to be that way about you, Sting, but you were not a good person. That's just all there is to it. Richard Hood said, whatever happened to Terry Gibbs?
I'm not sure whatever happened to Terry.
He didn't wrestle for a long period of time. I think the last time he wrestled was WWF, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, he just disappeared.
Yeah.
Christopher Hughes said Jody Hamilton was awesome. One of my favorites of all time. Great promos. Yes, he did great interviews. For you new folks, promos. So we'll just go with the promos. We're not gonna lose that. We're gonna lose that fight. So we'll go with that. These shows always take me back to the great days of wrestling. We really enjoy it. As soon as Christmas is over, I'm gonna throw you guys some support. Well, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate it. Christopher, we'll just let that go on their own accord right there.
Let's get t-shirts, Christopher. Let's get t-shirts. Let's get t-shirts. I love it.
Hey, I don't mean to be mean about the guy, but he was never nice to me. I'll tell you one story. I was doing the ring announcing in Birmingham, Alabama, at Boutwell Auditorium, and he was on the main event that night with Ric Flair. Ric Flair comes in. I shake his hand. How you doing? Good to see you. And I was always taught to go to everybody, shake their hand, and say Brent West, even if you didn't know who they were. So I didn't even knew Sting and talked to Sting in the Universal Wrestling Federation while they were teaming. Well, while he was teaming with Eddie Gilbert. So I went up to him and said, "How you doing, sir?" And put my hand out. He said, "What can I do for you?" That's what he said. He didn't shake my hand. What can I do for you? That's the only thing he said to me. I said, nothing at all. I mean, why would you do that to somebody? Lex Luger wasn't any better. Steiner's wasn't any better. They wasn't good people either. And it's just, hey, they were great wrestlers. I'm not taking nothing away from what they did in the wrestling ring. They were over, but, they wasn't good people to me. They wasn't the Junkyard Dog, great man. They wasn't Ric Flair, great person. He was always nice. They wasn't Wrestling 2 or Tommy Rich. These guys were always nice. And I'll get off the soapbox.
Awesome.
I'm gonna have to
awesome
apologize. Oh, that's another person that ain't. Oh no, Austin Idol was never nice to nobody. I think Sting learned from. I think Sting might have learned.
Well, now he was nice to me, but then he had to be in the ring with me, and I was bigger than him. So,
man, Richard Hood said Gary Hart said Sting wasn't a nice person.
Yeah.
Kevin Penley said I heard Batterbean was in a wheelchair. Was he?
Yeah, he is. Sometimes he has back issues, and of course he's a big guy, so that he can't get up and do a whole lot of stuff. He has to, use that chair to get around in some. But man, Butterbean is an absolutely tremendous individual. I love him to death.
Kevin Mike had no idea that Steve Burton was that kind of person. He just, I don't know, Rodney, do you have any great thought processing on Sting? No. Jack, you met him a few times.
Yeah, he was not a nice person when I met him either. Now, as we've pointed out, he has changed over the years. He got saved, and from what I understand, complete personality change in that aspect. And I've heard so many people talk about how it's daylight and dark as to what he is now as to what he used to be, and that's great.
Yeah, that is, we all change. David Lawson said, "Hey, Cornette calls the promos. I think he must be stuck. He talks about the old days, but I don't."
He also worked for Vince too, and I'm sure he picked it up there.
Now, I will tell people this, so you understand that there was a thing called promos. There was. But it wasn't an interview. It was when they would tell, USA Championship Wrestling comes to Knoxville, Tennessee, Civic Coliseum. You'll see the Bullet take on the Mongolian Stomper. Buddy Landell takes on Wendall Cooley. That was what was called a promo. Now, at some point, maybe they said, now I can remember we would he cut an interview on me. For some reason, at some point in the 90s, it changed. He's going to cut a promo on you. So it did change. Terminology did change. It's just during the territory times, if you go back, and I've got Mid-South Wrestling TV sheets. If they called them promos, and that was the inside thing, then why does it not say promo? It said interviews. And you would go Wednesdays to do interviews, not promos. And I don't care what Cornette says, they were not called that. It just wasn't in the territory days. And he'll say it today. I'll hear them. I bet they say promo on their podcast 45,000 times in one episode. And you're thinking to yourself, do you want people to think that you're so in touch with what wrestling used to be that you want to use jargon? And does it make you feel like you know the wrestling business? I'm sorry, Cornette, but does that make you feel like you know the wrestling business? If you use the jargon about 45,000 times, if you use what goes on in the wrestling business, does that make you feel? Because half the people they're listening to, you don't even know what that means to begin with. So it makes no sense to me. But you know what? I want to have to, Lordy have mercy. I want to, let's see, Jim Cornette, Sting.
All this is you're being upset just because you don't have your computer tonight.
I'm just waiting for him to do an entire promo in Carney.
All right, we got to get back there because I've got on my soapbox too much tonight. So let me see if I can turn this off because it's time for us to let's talk Mid-South Wrestling. Rodney, let's get to the Mid-South Wrestling. Let me before we get to that, let me just turn on the Mid-South Wrestling.
Hey, there's the Mid-South Wrestling thing.
Mid-South Wrestling. Let's talk Mid-South Wrestling because guys, I must not be in a good mood tonight because this is not. I was not impressed with this show. Jack liked it, but okay. Let's go ahead and let's talk about it.
Well, we begin the program. This is episode 279. Originally aired the January 10th of 1985. Jim Ross and Joel Watts, as Joel Watts has returned from his trip to Hawaii.
And talk about a deep tan.
Yes, and we're really excited about that, Jim Ross. We recapped we do a recap, and now Steve Dr. Death Williams, of course, has his helmet barred. Now, of course, he says that he never did have to use it anyway. He was a 4-time All-American, which we continue to be reminded on this program over and over again. And that today on the program, he would face the North American heavyweight champion, Brad Armstrong. And he would prove that he didn't need the helmet, and he really didn't need it at all. So, well, we will find out a little bit later on the broadcast. In our first match, it's Rick Oliver and Dale Vesey facing Tim Horner and Private Terry Daniels. Jack?
I think I'm freezing up again.
Okay, Jack.
I thought he was speechless for me.
I thought, okay. Well, I mean, it was so much tremendous action. Maybe he got lost in the tremendous action. We'll let Jack catch up. What do you think about this?
I thought it was a great man. I think Oliver is spectacular. I don't understand. I don't think he was there for a long period of time. He must just been coming through because I don't remember him being there that long. I don't remember him being there that long. But I thought it was a great match. Just still something about Terry Daniels. I don't know. I just can't put my finger on it, but something just a little off on him.
Well, you'll notice our father, who's refereeing this particular match, is all over Terry Daniels for something. I don't know if he didn't just come in and get started and more aggressive or what have you. He was on him for some reason during that match. And, of course, in the end, it's Terry Daniels winning with the Cobra Clutch on Davey. Then we go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Bill Watts is giving the Mid-South Wrestling Athlete of the Year award to none other than Jack's favorite hacksaw Jim Duggan. What did you think about that, Jack?
Oh, well, cufflinks. I think that says enough right there.
Cufflinks given to and it's a very special kind of cufflinks. And of course, during that same thing, same interview or same presentation, we also give a bottle of booze to Joel Watts and his 21st birthday on that particular event from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Apparently, maybe that was New Year's night. I'm not sure. Anyway, so we come back. It's now we've got an interview with Ted DiBiase.
Yeah, I've not had a bottle of booze that big since I went to the kitchen a little while ago.
Anyway, so Ted DiBiase, who is just awesome in this interview coming up. Did I say interview? I did say interview, and that's fact I wrote down interview. In this interview, Ted DiBiase was great. He was standing there talking with Jim Ross, and of course, he talks about Duggan and what kind of insult it was. And I think, Jack, you would agree. An insult it was that Jim Duggan was announced the Mid-South Wrestling Athlete of the Year. And of course, DiBiase talking about giving Duggan those cufflinks, which, like I think he said, is like putting mag wheels on a Mack truck or something to that degree. DiBiase was just off. He called Duggan no class whatsoever. I mean, I thought he was perfect, absolutely perfect. Of course, he mentioned something about Joel Watts. Who cares about Joel Watts and his 21st birthday? For Jim Ross said, hold it. Let's not. The last time somebody said something about Bill Watts' family, they ended up with a near broken jaws. And he said, well, okay, all right then. Happy birthday, Joel Watts. But what I'm here to talk about is that bum that I laid out in the parking lot here, Jim Duggan. So now we come up with the next one. Match number.
Hey, now don't forget. Now he challenged him to a
that's right.
To a best dressed man contest.
That's right. So match number 2 is for the Mid-South Television Championship. It's the Sheik Hercules Hernandez with General Skander Akbar facing Terry Taylor. Jack, what did you think about this one?
Oh, I thought that was a good match. Terry Taylor's always really good. But yeah, it's Terry Taylor match.
It was good. It was a good match. I enjoyed the match. I thought Terry Taylor did a good job, and Hercules did a good match. Tell a story, even though I think at some point, I believe the people might have been hollering boring to Terry Taylor in that match. I'm not for sure.
Well, I was just waiting to see if we were going to have the Cobra Clutch in 2 consecutive matches, but we didn't.
Well, we did have something similar happen when, just almost a year ago with Terry Taylor and the Russians, in which Taylor was hung by a rope in that particular instance with the Russians. This time it was Hercules. And of course, he's been doing it for a few weeks, using his turban to choke people out. And of course, he got with Terry Taylor, had him in the hangman's. Taylor comes over and does the reversal. And then it is Taylor and Landale, or Buddy Landale comes out. He and Hernandez double up on Terry Taylor. And then it's Iceman King Parson in for the save. And I'll just tell you right now, I put on the show flat.
Yeah, that was flat.
It was flat. And that's what I remember of it. Okay, then the next match is the match number 3. Jack Victory facing the Iceman, King Parsons. Jack, what do you think about this one?
Well, I like Parsons. He, he's very charismatic. He almost missed the finisher, but Jack Victory was good enough to still sell it for him and put him over. It was okay. It wasn't a great match, but it was an okay match.
Brent?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what Jack said.
In the end, it's the second rope clothesline on Jack Victory. This Buddy Landale comes out to the ring and he challenges the Iceman King Parsons. All 3 referees are out. Then in the next match, right into the next match, it's Buddy Landale versus Parsons. Good chops from Parsons on Landale. You got to give him to that. Parsons then does the second rope clothesline again on Landale. And of course, it's Iceman beating 2 in a row. It's Jack Victory and Buddy Landale going down in defeat on that particular episode. Then one of my favorites. Oh, yeah, the master of the DDT, Jake the Snake Roberts against Mike Jackson. Brent, what do you think about this one?
Oh, that was Jake just showed. The way he wrestled was completely different than anyone else wrestled. He was an innovator. He did not steal nothing from, he might have stolen something from somebody. We just didn't know who it was. But the sliding out of the ring and just the stuff that Jake did was tremendous.
It was what Jake was able to do is keep your attention in the ring. Your all eyes was on him. And whether it was him, like you're saying, sliding out underneath the rope, whatever it might be. And then Jake always makes his opponent look good. Always makes it. Jack, what did you think?
Well, the crowd was into it because Jake gave them hope that Mike could actually win that match. They'd seen Mike get beat, 100 times, I guess, by then. But Mike always had good matches, too. And Jake gave them the feeling that, hey, this little guy might just beat this big guy. Yeah. That's storytelling. That's a guy who's a master of his craft right there.
Jake is just so good in this one. In the end, it's Jake picking Jackson up on his shoulders, dropping down, and then it comes. Yeah, it is the hold that make Jake Roberts famous, the DDT, and it's over. 1, 2, 3. It's Jake Roberts in for the win on that one. Then we get with the handicap match. Rocky King and George South against the Ugandan warrior / giant Kamala with the General Skander Akbar. What did you think about this one, Jack?
Oh, I thought it was a good match. I mean, those 2 guys, if you want somebody to go out there and sell for you, those are the 2 guys you want to sell for you because they were fantastic. And of course, Kamala, he was over with what he did and was very good with, in this match.
Brent, I don't know that I can add to that.
In the end, it's Kamala with the double thrust with the gigantic splash. And the Ugandan warrior, I think everybody's surprised that he was able to beat both George South and Rocky King. Were you not?
Yeah, I was.
I think Rocky was surprised because he wasn't even in there.
Did I say Rodney King? I'm sorry about that, Christopher. It's Rocky King. Sorry about that. Anyway, it's match number 7. This is where the whole show goes down the tubes as far as I'm concerned. The North American Heavyweight Championship is on the line as the champion, who apparently Jim Ross or Joel Watts, neither one know. Brad Armstrong, the North American champion, defending against Steve Dr. Dick Williams. Jack?
Well, it wasn't Steve's worst match.
Yeah. Brent?
Okay, here's my problem. Okay, here's my problem. Okay, Brent, people are going to say today, December 7th, 2020, Brent was a really cranky guy. All right, and I'm going to be cranky about this, and I'm going to tell you the reason I'm cranky about it. Here's the problem that I had with this. You open the show up, the North American heavyweight champion, Brad Armstrong, going against Steve Dr. Death Williams, and you don't give one interview, not one. You need people, and Jim Cornette, so he'll be happy, a promo for Brad Armstrong. Nothing. No interview whatsoever. Now, Jim Ross will tell people, oh, we gave Brad an opportunity, and we gave him that. Well, tell me when you gave him that interview, because I haven't seen one, Jim Ross, that you gave him between the time that he became the champion and this match he had with Steve Williams. Not once. Not one time, and you gave him an interview. So how do you know he could do the interview when you never gave it to him to do the interview? But that's the first thing. Here's the thing too. During this whole match, Jim Ross and Joe Watts does nothing but talk about Steve Williams during this whole match. Plus, Steve Williams takes the whole match, knowing it was going to a time limit draw. He takes the whole match, and it's just designed to make Brad not look like a strong champion. And I didn't like it in 1985 when I watched it, and I don't like it now. And I don't like it because people will say today, when they're talking about Brad Armstrong, oh, he couldn't do the interview. He couldn't do. No, you didn't. As the bookers, you didn't give him the direction to do that because you didn't care if he got over. And that was just the pure and simple point of it. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to have to write this one down. This is a bad day for me.
No, I absolutely agree. And this has been the constant theme with Brad Armstrong since day one. Yeah. They never wanted him to get over since day one. Honestly, Brad can work circles around Steve Williams. He actually can talk circles around Steve Williams. But the difference between Brad and Steve Williams is that Brad wasn't a football player in the Oklahoma University. He wasn't a 4-time All-American that we get to hear over and over and over again. And then just as I said about Sting, I will say about Dr. Death, not one person, not one of our commenters has ever said one of the best matches I've ever seen was with Steve Dr. Death Williams. But however, on this program, we have said one of the best matches we've ever seen is between Jerry Stubbs and Brad Armstrong. We cannot say the same about Mr. Williams, now can we? But so, again, it just shows what kind of one-sided organization that was. With Watts and his man crush on every football player walking on the street. And he'll make even worse decisions with Ed Carl Thomas later. And then this other one that's a big dumb goof, this Thor the Terrible. And you'll find out exactly why he's Thor the Terrible here shortly.
Hey, listen,
they didn't call him Thor. By the way, they didn't call him Thor the Terrible. We called him Thor the Terrible because that's what he was.
Here's the thing, folks. It's not that I'm trying to be mean to Jim Ross or I'm trying to be mean to anybody that says. I've even heard Steve Austin say on his podcast, well, I heard that. Well, you heard that, Steve Austin, but you only heard what someone told you that don't know what they're talking about. Jim Ross doesn't know what he's talking about. He has no clue what he's talking about. He was not given an opportunity to do the interview. It wasn't that he couldn't do it. He wasn't given the opportunity to do it. How could he be doing it if he wasn't given the opportunity?
And here the only claim to fame that they gave for Brad Armstrong is that he was the son of Bob Armstrong and a former national champion. Well, Brad also was a former national tag team champion. He was also a former Southeastern tag team champion. He was also a former United States junior heavyweight champion. If he would took time to talk to Brad, he might have got a little bit more of what he could do, other than, guess what? I used to watch him on TBS. That's all.
And was one of the youngest national tag team champions of all time. But no, we wasn't going to go that route. But we want today, when we talk about Brad Armstrong, we want to blame him. No, it's the Booker's fault.
Yes,
Bill Ross's fault, Bill Watts' fault, Bill Dundee's fault, Ron West's fault, because Ron West was part of the booking staff. at that time in Mid-South Wrestling. So I blame all those people, and Grizzly Smith, those people. Blame yourselves. Don't blame Brad Armstrong.
And the thing about it is, if you got a problem with the announcers or his interviews or whatever, you keep making him do it until he gets it right. That's how it's worked. That's how you work it.
Well, he made Jim Cornette.
Give him one chance, and it's done.
Well, anyway, this has been one for the records today. I tried not to.
I warned everybody last week that this one was going to be this way.
We tried to keep this thing up.
I'm going to have a drink on that. Excuse me, buddy.
I hope, okay. He's having he said drink. I wasn't for sure what he was talking.
Something this here.
But Mid-South Wrestling was a great wrestling organization. I just and all I'm trying to say is I don't like people to be said it was something they did when it wasn't something he did. It was something they did. And to keep that going on in the wrestling business is saying Brad wasn't good on the mic that is a lie, because he was. And in 1985 Continental Championship Wrestling, he showed that he could do the interview and he could do what needed to be done. Brad was good. He could do anything you asked him to do. If you asked him to do an interview that was funny, he could do it. If you asked him, they never asked him to do it. And that's my problem, folks. It's not great wrestling organization. They drew a lot of money in Mid-South Wrestling. I just don't like to hear that people blame Brad for something that was not his, was nothing to do with him.
But I'm sure that they would have allowed Terry Taylor to stand out there and read one of his interviews to the people.
Oh, by the way, he would write his interviews, and he would have his little.
Those are Terry Taylor is yet one of those overrated loudmouths in the back. But when it come right out to the ring, he's another one that we don't have as in our top matches we've ever seen.
Well, I will tell you, the Ric Flair and Terry Taylor at the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, was one of the worst matches I'd ever seen. It was so boring that the people were leaving in droves and to go to the concession.
I actually heard Terry Taylor do an interview about that where he said that he was so blown up 15 minutes into that match. And didn't they go an hour?
I think so, yeah.
I think it was an hour time limit or whatever. But he said if it wasn't for Rick, he'd have never made it through that. He said he was so exhausted that all he could do was just listen.
That match was bad. Match was bad. We were there, and I went and got me a pizza too at the concession stand. And let me tell you, when you went and got a
line, I mean, we're just lucky that there was a line there, because if not, we'd have had to come back and finish watching that match.
Anyway, we will talk about Mid-South Wrestling and maybe a more uplifted, not upset.
How about it?
Video on Mid-South Wrestling.
Even further.
By the way, I am going to start. I've looked through all my stuff. I am going to start looking at the booking sheets. We're going to start looking at booking sheets of Mid-South Wrestling that correlate with what we're talking about. Also, the actual book of Bill Watts that he would write down in. He used to make copies of it, and everybody that was part of the booking and also took care of the towns would get copies of this. And I will show that next week. I will show that right here. As we're talking about Mid-South Wrestling, I'll show the things down. I'm not for sure Bill Watts wrote this stuff down. It looks like Jim Ross is writing, so I think he might have been writing down in Bill Watts' book what was going on.
Occasionally, do you see any brown nose prints on those pages?
I'll be back.
All right, folks. We'll. Whew, man, I tell you what, we've been mean on this show. The Jack's the only one's been the baby face on this one.
Yeah, surprised.
I was asked not to be in again, but I just felt like I'm not being. I'm just telling the truth.
This is true, folks. We're just telling our thoughts and our all opinions. Brett West, Rodney West, Jack Lord, all our opinions and only our opinions. And all right, guys, next time Mid-South Wrestling, we'll look at more and I'll have a couple of those.
And Jake just gets better. I'm just going to tell you right now. That's something to look forward to. Yeah.
All right, we will see that and as we go further. Let's go back and see what the insiders have got to say, and then we'll leave here. And tomorrow night, tomorrow night we talk about World Championship Wrestling. Plus, we'll have a couple of surprises. It may be. We're going to be talking a little bit about the more inside of wrestling, and it could get a little heated again as we're talking about things that went on in the wrestling business. As we talk more about personal stuff going on in the wrestling business,
I should have changed my lights to red tonight instead of blue.
You may even tell the story of the time me and Brad Armstrong got in trouble for making Lex Luger man.
Oh,
there you go. A lot could happen tomorrow, so stay tuned. Well, maybe between now and the end of the year, it may not. They talk about shoot interviews. There could be a lot going on on the next couple of weeks before Christmas time gets here. All right, let's see where we're at. Christopher does want to make some of them T-shirts. He said he wants to make them up. Michael Barr asked, Rich, you mentioned support for the show there. What can I, as a viewer, do? Actually, it is available now on Facebook. There's a couple of ways you can hit the support button. It's going to be $2.99 a month. And then what this will do is it will help us get cameras, more lighting, and just jump up the show a little bit week after week, because that's and plus we'll be doing some extra. But I will share that with with you as the weeks go by. It is there. It is there now. But just because we had to put it up there before we talked about it, but we will talk more about it on future shows. Mickey Mayfield said, Sting and Luger used to own Main Event Fitness in Georgia. They would never talk to the patrons.
Yep.
I don't.
Used to being the key word here.
Yeah. That's. I'm not going to. My blood pressure always high. Y'all all. People's always. I'm going to have to take an extra pill tonight already. So. I don't really get that upset about it, Rodney, I wouldn't give Sting the time of day.
And he wouldn't give it to you anyway. He would be what was it that Fred Blassie would say he'd be stuck for an answer if you said hello to him. That's what was Sting.
Michael Barr said no good Southern hospitality from those wrestlers. Yes, I'll agree. Richard Hood said I like Butterbean.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Dr. Philbo Gry said, met Austin Idol once and he was a jerk. If you met him 2 or 3 times, you would have still been a jerk. So it wouldn't have mattered.
He would have still signed his picture for you for $3.
Kevin Penley, Butterbean owns a barbecue restaurant here. I've never been to it. You been to it?
Yeah. No, I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and as soon as this COVID stuff kind of eases up, I'm going down to have lunch with him one day.
Now, where is the restaurant at? What's
Jasper, Alabama.
Jasper, Alabama. I love barbecue. All right.
We'll have to and that's another thing we're gonna do when we talk about support. When all this gets out of the way, we're going to be making trips, and we're going to try to make trips to different wrestling places and talk to people, and we just have not been able to do. We were actually going to start 2021 doing that. It's probably going to be moved up now until later on, but that is something we're going to start doing once things get back to normal. And let's hope that's by the summer, at least the fall of 2021. Michael Barr said, great promo, Brent. Christopher Hughes said, one of the guys that did a lot for me, and he was always really good to me, was Bugsy McGraw. I'm guessing that was Bugsy McGraw. He helped me even when I screwed up a lot. I love Mr. Davis. Those were all good guys.
Yeah.
They understood that this was a business and this was a job for them, and they loved what they were doing. I'm not sure.
Go back up to you missed one there. We put it up on the screen, but we didn't comment on it. We didn't read it.
The Glenn Allen Shelton one?
I believe so. It was back 2. Yeah.
Later in life, Sting signed autographs while doing ballparks and TNA.
Yep.
Let's see.
It's all right. Yeah.
Mickey Mathos said Cornette, the only person that cusses more than Ole in interviews. Yeah. yeah. He's Glenn. Even Glenn said he's worse than a sailor. David Lawson said, getting Brett fired.
Right.
No, I'm not really upset, guys. It's that all this was 30 years ago. If I'm still upset about something that happened 30 years ago, I need to go get me some help somewhere. We're just talking about the days and sometimes you do get a little fired up. It's like, fired up, Tommy, fired.
Well, when it comes to Brad, he's like family, and we're very protective.
What I get mad about is not what happened 30 years ago, but what I hear now. I just recently heard a Steve Austin podcast where he was talking about Brad, and I have to say to Steve, he's just what he's been told, and what he's been told and what the truth is two different things. And that, I'm not disrespecting Steve. I thought he was always a great guy as well. He was always nice to me, always. He might have done stuff he shouldn't have done while we was in WCW at these developmental pounds, but I don't know if it was him as much as it was Brian Pillman, was it, right?
It was Pillman, yeah.
It was Brian Pillman. It wasn't Steve Austin. But Steve Austin, always a nice guy. Really, Hulk Hogan was always a nice guy. People talk bad about Hulk Hogan, but he never was disrespectful to me. And I didn't see him much, but the times I see him, he wasn't disrespectful to me. And he's probably one of the biggest stars in professional wrestling. But he always was good to me. People talk about Eric Bischoff, but I've met him 2 or 3 times. He always was nice to me. Never was disrespectful to me. There's just been a couple of people, the Steiners, Sting, Luger, Austin Idol. They were the guys that wasn't nice people for whatever reason. But somebody told me one time, Jack, and I don't know if this is they have to be buttholes in the world, so we will know the difference between the buttholes and the good people.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess we've run into our share. And especially in that time. Hey, wait a minute. There was one other person that was a pretty bad person as well. And he does know that. Who?
Kevin Nash.
Well, he wasn't as bad as Johnny B. Bad.
Johnny B. Sad. Yeah, Johnny B. Bad. Ooh, what a my.
Hey, now I will before we go too far, I will point out he's another guy that had a big change in his life, and all reports are he's a completely different person now.
Let's
so you're saying he is transgendered? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's probably true. I had one run-in with him that I don't know if he'll remember, but I remember what I said to him. And I remember your dad walking up and saying, that's pretty good.
I don't understand. He came. I remember one time I was in Gulfport, Mississippi, and they had advertised a cage match there, and we couldn't get the cage inside the building. I'll never forget that. He come up to me and asked me, what's the advance for tonight? And I said, I don't know what the advance is, because I didn't know what it was. And he said, it's not that you don't you don't care, do you? And I said, well, no, I really don't care what the advance is. I sure truly don't. I'm going to get paid the same amount if it does 20,000 tonight, or if it does 5. I'm going to get the same amount of money, and you are too. So it ain't going to really matter what the advance is. And I'll never forget, Eric Watts was there, and he was like, man, he got a little tore up over that, didn't he? I said, badly got tore up over it. And he would get things and just stick with it. You talk about somebody that talks about bullying, and that's what he does today. He should know, because he was one of the biggest bullies in WCW at the time, and a man that did not deserve the money he was being made at the time. But he was not a nice person either.
By the way, we've left his picture up there. He's going to charge you for that now.
Oh, is he going to charge us for that?
Well, I'm going to have to. He said that's what he said. He said what he was saying.
All Mid-South commentators had wear blue blazers to the Mid-South Wrestling patch. Yes, and we showed that patch last week, I think.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's not quite there yet, but it's coming up very shortly.
Rodney, the North American belt was huge.
Yes, it was big belt, and also literally and figuratively, both big.
Mickey said Jack's doing his Max Headroom impression. Mr. West, we get a lot of wrestlers that did not do their job in the ring. I like Ron West. Yeah, he let you know when you did not do. By the way,
he's talking in front of his teeth like this.
I will tell you.
I got those gritted teeth a few times too.
In 1994, right when World Championship Wrestling was getting rid of the, I think it was the end of 1994, was getting rid of the developmental territory. I can remember us sitting, and I said, "Well, Dad, you gonna talk to someone else there?" He said, "No, I'm done." He said, "This last deal is dealing with some of these wrestlers today." He said, "I'm done with it." He said, "They don't know what the brotherhood of wrestling is." He said, "They just don't know what it means." And he said, "I'm ready to go. I'm ready to retire from professional wrestling." And he did. He did retire from it. Daniel Lang said, "Does anybody know what happened with Dr. Death's USFL career? Does anybody?"
No.
Bill Watts announced that he was moving from the New Jersey Generals to the Denver Gold, but didn't end up playing for them. Maybe he didn't have Bill Watts talk him up. Maybe that was the Michael Barr said, "Rodney and Brent, what was it like traveling from them different territories? Enjoyed every moment of it. Enjoyed every moment of it. Some territories better than others. You know, we'll hear people talk about today. They'll go, 'Well, our territory was just a rocking and rolling the whole time. Boy, we was drawing money all the time.' No, I'm sorry that wasn't happening. Southeastern Championship Wrestling in 1983 was dead. It was absolutely dead. That's where my dad went after when he left Atlanta. He went there, and what was it, October of that year, 1983, Rodney?
Right.
And we went there. We went there in November. We went there on a Thanksgiving night. The place was packed with this territory is rocking and rolling. Dad said, they might have been drawing tonight, but they certainly haven't been drawing the rest of the time. I don't think Dad made more than $240 a week while he worked there. The whole time he worked there, he might get to $340 sometimes. You know, that's how bad it was. He went from there and worked for Bill Watts, went from $240, $340 a week at most to making $35,000 to $4,000 a week. So the Southeastern was always drawing. You'll hear people say, "We were hanging from the rafters." Well, yeah, they was only hanging from the rafters because they was trying to get out of the building because the matches. But it was a bad time. Every territory had bad times. Don't get me wrong. Georgia Championship Wrestling did bad for a while as well. I mean, every territory is going to do bad, but we enjoy traveling. Well, how about you, Rod?
Yeah. It was. I would not have given it up for nothing. And if people say, "Would you've changed anything?" Not a thing. Not one thing.
No, back then though, the wrestlers it was like a family, and that's what happened when World Championship Wrestling came along. It wasn't about a family no more. It wasn't about working together to draw houses. It had nothing to do with that anymore.
It all started when the corporations got involved.
Yeah. Terry Taylor, the Red Rooster, right? Yes, he was the Red Rooster. He didn't like to do that gimmick, and if you ever get the opportunity, watch what Bruce Pritchard has to say about that. Now, to a certain extent, what he said is true. You got to make it. If they give it to you, do the best at it. I mean, that's the thing about it. Dusty did the best he could with polka dots, so he made it work.
Made it work.
Jack, what was your finishing move?
Laying on my back.
Shoulders to the mat. All right.
Because let me clear up something. That pay window paid the same whether you won or lost. So I didn't care.
Jake was okay, but the snake had to go. Oh man, you throw that snake in the dressing room and turn the lights off. Man, I was going to do the ring outs in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I heard Jake was going to be there, and I thought, oh man, I'm never going into the dressing room. Yeah, I'm gonna. If they want to tell me something, they're gonna have to tell me right there out in the open there at the UTC arena. and he had got fired 3 days before that came there. And I was thinking, man, I'm so glad he's not going to be there, because at the time he had that white Cobra, and I thought, man, I don't want to be nowhere near that, and I was going to have to be in the ring when he came through with that thing. I don't know about that. Rodney King.
Yeah, that's what I messed up. Sorry.
When Jake Roberts was right, he was one of the best workers.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Barr said, was it Steve Dr. Death with the mask with the X on it? No, I don't think so.
No.
He did wear some mask and stuff. He whole tights and everything. It was totally brown. He had a brown mask, and they called him the Craps. So that was what they called it. I'm just joking, folks. It was a joke. Dad used to tell that. Rodney, Dad tell that joke 100 times.
Yes, he would.
Jack, did you ever hear him tell that joke?
Yeah. He told me one time in the car, man, I got a gimmick for you.
That was his deal. We get somebody, he'd tell Jock Crusoe that over and over again. He did fall for it. Hey, Jock, I got a great idea for you.
Yeah.
He fall for it every time.
Well, now, Dad was a more colorful in his thought process.
Delivery, yes.
Yes.
This is true. David Lawson said, amen, Brent. I think Rodney going Sullivan on us. Hey, by the way, World Championship Wrestling, Kevin Sullivan is a part of this now. So, it could be very fun tomorrow night. I'm not for sure Kevin Sullivan was on that show, but it could be fun. Rodney, Bill Watts liked, he did.
Collegiate guy, yeah.
He did for some reason. I don't know. That's the only thing you really like was football players. I don't get it. Michael Barr agreed Brad was great and one of the best wrestlers in the business. Brad Armstrong was never given a fair shot anywhere. Agreed. Y'all agree with that?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
The guy maybe was good as his dad. Brad is on number 3 on my list as the most underrated. The guy was great. Kevin said Watts was like Vince. He liked big guys. It's crazy that he did, because he drew the most money with the smaller guys.
Yeah.
That just made no sense, but he went right back to it, and his territory starts dying. It makes no sense whatsoever. It just didn't make sense. I would have never got rid of the Rock and Roll Express. I would have told Jerry, I'm sorry, but you ain't getting them back, because they never was the same when they came back. They just didn't draw the money when they came back. Dad always said wrestling team was over like there was no. I mean, he was over in Georgia. He gets hurt. They do a thing with his shoulder. It took them forever to get him back over, and once they leave, it's hard to it's hard to get them back over.
Yeah.
Michael Barr said, hearing and actually being there are two different things. Daniel Lang said, Jack, you better take the reins. The West Coast run away. We're going a little crazy that way. Dr. Philbo Grice said Brad was a top shelf. Yes, no doubt. Richard Hood said Rodney Steve got the push because not only was he a, how do you say that name again?
Collegiate.
Thank you.
All Americans.
Whew. All Americans, but went to the same school as Bill Watts and Wally McDaniel. Glenn Allen said was to go after Bob. Wade treated, that could have had a lot to do with it. Bob might have made a lot of people mad in the wrestling business because he was a booker, he was the owner, and you're not always going to make people happy. I mean, Jack, how many people have you made upset? And you're
well, how much time have we got? I keep a list over here.
There is no I in a team, as in we. Yes, this is true. Christopher Hughes said Terry said he was mad because Rick came into the arena hung over. He thought Rick was going to screw his one big night up and Flair for 60 minutes. Well,
he did. Yeah, he did say that, that Rick came in, but he was talking about he was amazed that when he came out of the locker room to the ring, there was nothing wrong with him. He was fine. And then he couldn't keep up with him. Flair blew him up, within 15 minutes, he was just gassed to the gills.
And Ric Flair can do that to you. Great show tonight. Extra good. Thank you so much. I think it's just because Rodney was just having a fit over there, going off, turning heel on people. I don't know what's wrong with that boy. And Jack, I've been trying to sit over here, be the baby face, and here is Jack trying to do his own heel.
I'm just over here drinking coffee.
Fellas, your experience of people determines your perception of the people. Yes, this is true. This is true, Richard. You're right about that. Rick Brooks said, don't forget about that jerk Lou Thez. I don't know. Some people said he was a jerk. I think some people said he was really a bad person. But
my experience with Lou was the exact opposite. He was absolutely fantastic when I was around.
We only met him one time I can think of, and he was very nice to us. But no. Kevin Penley said, I enjoyed the show. Thank you so much. Christopher Hughes said, Al Perez said that he and Sting got in a fist fight because Sting was making fun of some mentally handicapped kids that were brought backstage. He named another two. Again, Sting was not a good person, and I hope he is now. I hope he's made a list of people he needs to go apologize to. If he's truly a better person, then he needs to apologize to the people that he treated horrible when he was at the top. I just think if you're going to say you're a better person, then you might want to apologize to some of those people.
Yeah,
I think Shawn Michaels has. Yes,
he has.
For what he did throughout. So, Tyrone Spivey, just want to say hello, and you guys are great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Terry Taylor should have stayed in the NWA. I agree with you. He probably should have. And if Dusty could have put up with him. Michael Bard said, great show. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Guys, is there anything that we're missing that we need to talk about tonight? We've said a lot of things on this program that probably by tomorrow afternoon we'll have to apologize for. But is there anything we need to talk about before we leave?
I think we've covered about all the bases tonight.
Rodney, anything we need to talk about before we leave tonight?
I take nothing back.
I
take nothing back. Every single word I meant.
It's we always wanted to treat people well. I would say the majority of the people that we did business with there are some people that we didn't get along with at all times. I will agree with that. But I think we were always fair to people and was never mean to anyone. We knew that we were there to do a job, and I think that most of the wrestlers in the 70s, 80s, I'm not saying all of them, some of them wasn't too nice, but the majority of them knew this was all, we all need to work together to make money. But I guess he was making $500,000 a year. I don't guess you really cared if you, in Sting's case, $750,000 a year. He didn't care if he was not there or not, because he was going to make his money regardless if he did. I'm pretty sure he was nice to the guys he was wrestling against. I would hope to think you were, so somebody didn't whip you really bad in the process, But we enjoy professional wrestling. That's what we like to do. We like to talk about professional wrestling, the old days of, and we talked a little bit about the new stuff going on and some of the things that was going on in professional wrestling today. And poor old Sting just got the brunt of what we were talking about tonight. Rodney, thank you so much. Jack, thank you so much, and thank you. And if you have not subscribed to the channel on YouTube, go over there and subscribe to the channel. I think we got, 13 more people that needs to subscribe to that channel so we can hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So get over there. If you haven't done it, get over there and let's get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And if you are watching us on Facebook, like and share the page. I think we're at 13,000, maybe 700 insiders at this point, and we thank you so much for helping us get there. A lot of people have shared our page and tell people about it. Rodney's throwing some stuff away over there. But we certainly do appreciate it, and we will tell more about the support as the weeks go by, as we're able to tell a little bit more about that, how you can support the channel. Because one way you can support the channel is go to our merchandise, and I had the merchandise thing on here. Here we go. You can go through the merchandise, and you can also support there, and that is on the Facebook page as well. Just scroll down, you'll see the way to get it. You see Jack with the Jack the Bomber stuff as well. All right, thank you so much, Jack. Thank you so much, Rodney, and we'll see you on the next episode of Pro Wrestling Inside Out. We'll see you tomorrow night as we talk World Championship Wrestling. It should be a very interesting show, and maybe by then Jack and Rodney will calm down, and they won't be as excited during that program. Oh, sorry. All right.